The UFC's headed back to Seattle, and they're giving us all sorts of ways to make some money while watching these fights. One of those ways is PrizePicks. If you don't know what PrizePicks is, it's daily fantasy. You come in here, you say more or less than any of the numbers you see on the screen, and you can make a couple of bucks. It's super fun, it's super easy, and they will give you free money to play. The only thing you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/prizepicks. Use promo code WWP. After you do that, you place yourself a nice little $5 entry. And no matter what, instantly upon placing that entry, they will give you $50, $50 in your account that you can do whatever you want with instantly. WeWantPicks.com/prizepicks, promo code WWP. I'm going to focus very much on UFC Seattle, but if you look across the top here, you'll see it's every sport you could ever imagine, even fake sports like video games and darts. But we're going to focus on UFC. What I will say is anytime you come in here and you go to build yourself an entry or build yourself a nice little play, always check to see if there's any promos. When I built this for premium members the other day, Luka Doncic had like a half a point promo. So obviously you add that to your lineup and bang, you basically have a guaranteed square. But let's go ahead, focus on UFC Seattle. Again, get that free money. WeWantPicks.com/prizepicks, promo code WWP. As the week goes on, they add more and more stuff. But it's an interesting balance of getting here early before the lines take off, but also making sure you have enough options. So we'll see what we've got going on here. By the time you're watching this, the numbers might be a little different. And all I can say to that is watch earlier. If we're looking at significant strikes, that is always hard because significant strikes is a subjective thing. There's literally a human being going click, 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 determining what was significant and what was not. But all you can do is look at historical data and determine who's busy, who's not busy. And if we're looking at historical data, who's busy, who's not busy, Ricky Simón cruises past 42.5 significant strikes in 90% of his fights, wins or losses. Cruises past this number. This fight, in all likelihood, goes to a decision, and Ricky Simón should get past this number. So we're going to put them more. A couple of other ones that we're looking at that are interesting. Anytime you get something insanely low, like this Nick Klein one, it's enticing, but I do think he gets mauled, and we have another play on that side we'll talk about in a minute. The Julius Walker one is also somewhat interesting. He is a UFC debut. He's taking on Alonzo Menafield, and while Alonzo Menafield is wildly dangerous, it's possible he gets hit 18 times before any sort of finish. So I don't mind that 17.5 on the more or the Alonzo Menafield on the more. Because these lines are basically implying that this fight ends in the first minute and a half. And it could go a little longer than that. There's just so many unknowns, so I don't quite have the balls to do it. If we continue to work our way down, Rob Font historically is a pretty high volume guy. But I'm going to leave that out of here because this fight could go a million different directions. It's basically short notice. It's at a 5-pound up catch weight. There's a lot going on there. And then obviously Brendan Allen and Anthony Hernandez. It's only 3 rounds, not 5, but both of these guys are pretty high volume. We're going to leave the rest of those alone. Let's go to fight minutes. What I do like here with fight minutes is João Silva. I got it at 10.5 fight minutes the other day. It's now at 11. Half a minute's not going to make a difference there. So I'm still going to do the more. I think we end up in a decision here. Or at least we get to the third round and a little bit of action. If you look at João Silva's fight history, he's been to decisions before. I understand he's murdering people right now, but he's been to decisions before. Melsik Bagdasaryan is a high-level kickboxer, a guy that's been a professional kickboxer long before he was an MMA fighter. So we essentially have striker versus striker. And when you get those types of matchups, you don't always get a firefight. We might have a technical battle, and it might take them a little while to find their rhythm and fully engage. And João Silva doesn't go hunting for finishes. He doesn't march forward trying to find your head. He just finds it when you overcommit. He finds it if you come to him. So I do think this fight goes a little long. We may end up with a decision, so I'm going to do the more on fight minutes for João Silva. And don't worry, guys. We're going to do the flex play option here after I add the third leg. The rest of these fight minutes are interesting. I wish Alonzo Menafield was in the first round, because if it was like 5 minutes or 4.5 minutes, then I probably would do the more there, thinking that that could go to the second round. Mansour Abdul Malik, I don't think that goes to the second round. So we could do the less there, but instead of the less, I'm actually going to do his higher on the fantasy score. His fantasy score is 118.5. I think he slaughters Klein. I think he runs through Nick Klein. I think he gets a finish. I think he gets a finish early. There might be a knockout. There might be a takedown. And if we look at the scoring chart, the way you score points in MMA, let's work our way down. I mean, look at this description. They're really, wow, this is new. This wasn't here last week. But here's how you score. Significant strikes are 0.6 points. A takedown is 6 points. If you defend a takedown, it's 3 points. Submission attempt, 5 points. A knockdown is 12. In all likelihood, I think we're going to get probably a knockdown, maybe a takedown, obviously some significant strikes, and then a first round win. So 100 points for the first round win. Then we get a knockdown. That's 112 right there. A couple of punches. You cruise past the 118. It's some combination of a first round win and then maybe takedowns and a TKO, maybe a knockout on the feet. Either way, I think he's going to cruise past that number. If you are worried about the number itself but still think it finishes in the first round, then go back to the fight minutes and do the less. The rest of these are tricky. I don't typically like to do fantasy score because all depends how somebody wins, not just that they do win. But I'm very confident in Mansour Abdul Malik. And then if we look at takedowns, there's a couple here that are interesting. Brendan Allen is at 1. So he needs 2 for this to hit. And honestly, I'm a little nervous about it because he got a beautiful takedown in his last fight. Beautiful. Instantly took down Imavov. Looked incredible. Then he could not get another one the rest of the fight. And he's fighting Anthony Hernandez. They've already fought before. And if Anthony comes forward and Anthony starts wrestling, Brendan Allen's not even going to have the opportunity. So I'm a little worried about that. Ricky Simon, 2 takedowns. If you run through his fight history, 2 is his average. In the majority of his fights, he'll get 2 takedowns. And then there's a whole bunch of fights where he's had none or 6. But 2 is the majority of his fights. That's where he ends up. So he needs 3 for this to hit. And Javid Bajrat is a phenomenal wrestler in his own right. So I don't know if he's going to get to 3. Raffael Cerqueira, that's not how you pronounce it, but I'm just going to pretend he's Italian. That's another one. That's tricky. He only needs 1 takedown for this to hit. But we haven't seen enough of him yet to determine what is actually going to happen in that cage. Anthony Hernandez at 4. That could be good. That could be good. The guy just got 10 against Michel Pereira. That was 5 rounds, though. And then Henry Cejudo, 2.5 in a main event. That's a number that I was staring at, looking at, very much considering. The only reason I didn't quite pull the trigger on that is because Henry Cejudo is a little older. He is slowing down. And if Song Yadong's just that fast and has a great counter hook and he's just able to defend those takedowns and just be younger and faster, it's going to be tough to get 3 full takedowns. Although that is a number I'm looking at here. If we do the flex pay, $20 wins us 45. I've already built this lineup. I built it the other day. And I did use a free square. At least I thought I did. I don't see it here, so maybe I didn't use a free square. We got Mansour Abdul Malik. We did the higher on the fantasy score. Jean Silva, I told you I got 10.5 fight minutes. It's 11 now. Same thing. And then Ricky Simon, 42.5 significant strikes. That's my entry. This is what I'm doing. If you like this entry, great. If you don't like this entry, that's fine. Get the free money. WeWantPicks.com/PrizePicks, promo code WWP.